Hey everybody, welcome back to Northernlion, plays the Binding of Isaac AFTERBIRTH. Plus, we are on challenges. Hold on. Where did my... This is a very old man question. I have a wrist protector. There it is. Not like a brace. Come on, I'm not 35 yet. You know, like one of those wrist rests, and I lost it temporarily. Anyway, challenges. Head trauma. I'm ready. Oh, I hate it. L12B K797. So this is a carbon copy of one of the runs that necessitated the start of a third save file to begin with. And by carbon copy, I mean it has one or two of the same items. Namely, Tiny Planet. You guys ever use carbon copies? Help me. I used them. Oh my god. Sorry, it's a hard room to focus on considering its tininess. Dude, Yera. I mean, I don't know when the photocopier was invented, but it was definitely, you know, before I needed to use a lot of document replication. Nowadays, you know, can't even imagine. Like, if you were a teacher in like 1920, what did you do? You didn't have like worksheets or anything like that you could just photocopy. I know worksheets, like, you know, sometimes it gives teachers a bad reputation when they're like, oh, the teacher just passed out a worksheet. Like, not every day can be Robin Williams and the Dead Poets Society, okay? Some days, you know, you're there 5 days a week. I'm teaching you how to do algebra or something like that. There's like 6 rules you need to learn. We're gonna practice it a lot. Some days you're gonna have worksheets, okay? It's the whole, that's what a textbook is there for the most part. Please, this enemy. You know, if your teacher's giving you word searches every day and you're just watching movies, you either have the best teacher in the world or the worst teacher in the world, depending on your perspective. My 9th grade geography teacher, I know nothing about what geography is as a result of his class. To me, geography is knowing where countries are on the map. It has nothing to do with, like, you know, the natural resource breakdown of a region or anything like that, or, you know, weather science or anything along those lines. It's exclusively like, that's Peru, that's Chile, that's Argentina, you know? All we did in his class, we watched Dumb and Dumber, we watched the 2003 Michael Bay embarrassment Pearl Harbor starring Josh Hartnett. What were you thinking? We watched Ace Ventura: When Nature Calls. We watched Dante's Peak, the volcano movie with Pierce Brosnan, where the grandma's legs gets melted. See, that's a teacher that, I mean, at the time, you had to take geography class in freshman year to graduate high school regardless. You know, it's considered part of creating like a well-rounded young adult. We were very happy with the fact that largely we did like, you know, 20 minutes of work and 40 minutes of goofing off per class. But I don't know, I guess, you know, in hindsight, I have a little bit more sympathy for the teacher than I did back then. You know, he was hired to be like a volleyball coach or something like that. But our school, you know, was not of the position where I think you could just be like, hey, you're going to be our dedicated volleyball coach. It's like, you got to fill some space for us as well. They put him on, like, literally the least valuable class in the whole high school. 9th grade geography. None of these, nobody on planet Earth, to the best of my knowledge, has ever gone to high school and been like, man, you know when I wanted to be a geographer? 9th grade geography. I consider myself very open to knowledge at this point in my life. I still have I'm willing to be educated, by the way. I still have no idea what the study of geography as an adult actually is. You know, it's like the same way we talked about it like 2 years ago. But in the same fashion that, like, you know, it took me a long time to understand what a mathematician does. I'm like, do you just do algebra and calculus problems all day? I don't understand. You know, like, if you're a writer, it's easy to understand. You learn how to write convincingly, and then you you know, start reviewing video games and get paid $75 a review for them. That's not an insult to the to the writer. It's an insult to the industry. But anyway, I digress. If you're a mathematician, it's like you practice doing calculus, geometry, trigonometry, proofs, etc., etc., and then, you know, what do you do as an adult? You don't just get hired at the math factory to crunch arithmetic problems, presumably. I'm gonna Yara this, even though it's a little weak. I wanted to see what we got there. I want to see the pill. Okay, obviously it didn't work out that well. And then we'll blow this up and see what happens. No, tiny planet! You're gonna get in trouble. But, like, I still have no idea what geography as an adult means. I know, you know, in my university there was a big GIS laboratory. And sometimes people will talk about GIS and I'll just pretend to sort of, like, understand the context of where they're coming from. I don't really know what it means. To me, geography is either, like, what's the capital of Bulgaria? It's Sofia. Or, alternatively, hey, what kind of minerals are in that mountain? And this is embarrassing for me because I took a geography class in university by correspondence, but it was one of those classes that was like, you know, you need to take one class to graduate, and I was like, yeah, I mean, I guess I'll take geography. We could buy car battery, and with the Satanic Bible, that seems pretty good. Like, this run's starting to come together, I think. Anyway. So, that's on me. I'll admit that. No questions asked. Ah! Get these cat boxes off of my desk. Alright. It's true, though, you know, like, as an adult, or as a kid, it's really hard to conceptualize how things will be useful for you when you get older, right? Like, I'm trying to think of the most common example. Like, there are people out there that genuinely, and some of you are probably watching this video, let me try to make a case. I'm not a super mathy guy. However, I respect mathematics, and I've taken a decent amount of it in my life. I think math is extremely important in the real world. In the same way that, like, people are like, why is history important? People always give the BS reason, in my opinion. They're always like, because if you don't know history, you're doomed to repeat it. No. It's not like that, I think. I think that's just like a cop-out answer that for some reason we all agreed was, like, the right answer. I do remember writing that on a couple high school history tests for why we should learn history. The real reason I think you should learn history is so you don't appear like an idiot when, you know, you're in conversation with people later in life. And you go like, who's Caesar? You know, it makes you look unlearned and might cost you a multi-trillion-dollar business deal, depending on, you know, where you're at in your life. Anyway, dude, I hate to say it, but I might go Guppy's head here just for raw damage. You know, you have context for, like, how the world around you appeared. But for math, it's like, it's not just that, you know, you'll use some mathematical operations on a daily basis. Like, especially as you get older, you're not just doing tip calculations. You know, you might have a mortgage, you might be looking at investments, you might be like, okay, you know, with inflation at, pardon me, 2% annually, like, what kind of returns do I need to get to make sure that I don't lose my retirement just due to erosion in the increased cost of living plus inflation? You know, stuff like that, it does matter. And, you know, a couple of percentage points off could have a marked impact on your long-term, not health necessarily, but you know what I mean. Beyond that, it's also like math is just logical reasoning. You know, it explains, it's problem solving in the same way that, like, you know, some of coding is problem solving or all of coding is problem solving. You're like, you know, I have these values, I need to get to this derived value, how do I get there? You know, it's not just about being able to do arithmetic in your head. What was I talking about? Oh, dude. I mean, I'll level with you. There's still some classes where I'm like, I'm gonna anger some people here. I just want you to know that with context, I have a degree in a science. Is it the easiest science? Well, I don't know. There's still astronomy, no offense. But, yeah, I mean, it's biology. There was some lab work, but, you know, by and large, it's mostly just, like, memorization, which plays to my strengths, or at least used to. But for, like, a general person out there on planet Earth, I don't really understand the value of a mandatory chemistry class beyond just exposing you to chemistry and being like, ah, maybe you like it. I understand the practical, real-world applications of chemistry if you're a chemist, without a doubt. You know, somebody out there has got to be, you know, coming up with processes to manufacture a new kind of plastic. Or invent, you know, something you can put into the Gulf of Mexico to buffer the oil out of it after a spill or something like that. Of course, I understand. Figure out a process to get, you know, biodiesel from corn to car. But for like 99% of the population, what are you doing with chemistry? I'm not being rude, or at least not trying to be rude. Dude, I think we go for it. Even though it's so obviously dangerous and dumb. Like, this is the thing. I'm glad there are chemists. And how do you get chemists if you don't have a chemistry class? No! I keep doing it every time. I mean, maybe that's why they call it a challenge. Head trauma can be tough, so I'm probably should not have thrown all of my HP away, but we'll figure it out. It's, you know, the only thing, and I'll admit, you know, I don't have a good argument against this. If you're annoyed with math class because your teacher says to you, you won't have a computer everywhere you go in real life, obviously that's, like, incorrect in the modern day. Sure, I mean, if your argument is like, well, maybe a solar flare will hit the Earth and then we won't have access to electronics anymore. That's fine, but it's not like your school is teaching you survival skills in that case. They're teaching you, like, long division. You're like, oh, quick, a solar flare hit, but I still need to do my taxes. You know? It's unlikely. It should be teaching you how to, like, you know, get signs of, like, you know, high radiation count without having to use a Geiger counter or something like that. The argument falls apart under the slightest scrutiny, which is why English class is important. Okay, let's try this. I hate it. But you know why they teach you how to do arithmetic via pen and paper, or also in your head? Because it's easy. And why not? And also the math curriculum was invented 300 years ago by Cicero. Which is why history class is important, because I'm pretty sure my dude lived like 1900 years ago and was also a poet. But anyway, or a playwright, I should say. Well, what's the difference? A playwright is just a long poet. That's why linguistics class is important. I don't want to toot our horn here. If we can make it through this room without taking damage, we'll be highly pleased with ourselves. It's going alright so far. I would really like to stop dodging. Or rather, I would like to stop having to dodge. Okay, good work, team. Oh, just punched my mic. My apologies. Oh, and then immediately... Oh, this room is super dangerous. Immediately walked into damage for no reason. This room is very, very dangerous because of the long shooter up at the top. We're trying to, like, skirt the system here. If we can go around the big room, which obviously is no longer possible, but... Dude, by the way, I thought we took Little Harbinger. I'm just realizing now we took Death's List, which is... I mean, if I'm being honest... but not necessarily diplomatic, extremely bad for us right now, because we have no control over who we kill. Now, Little Harbinger, 7 Seal, also would have been pretty dicey, I think. But I thought, like, for the raw damage potential out of the flies, it could be worth it. I pulled back at the last second there. So... part of the difficulty in a challenge is honestly just not losing morale. So, you know, you look at this and you go, oh, this sucks. Yeah. It's supposed to, you know? That's like, that's its thing. You have 2 items that, I mean, are dubious at the very best. Yep, did I run into him? Yes. What was my game plan? I thought I could squeeze by him, but instead a little rusty. So that's our first challenge loss. So that's a big, this ain't it, Chief. Oof. That's a yikes from me, dog, etc., etc. You get the idea. Should not have traded away so much HP. I mean, like, that's the thing. What we should really be doing is stacking HP, getting an orbital, and just winning. Is it cheesy? No, not at all. It's just the... it's just a good way to finish the run. At no point does the game say you must interface on our terms. You know, the other thing you could do is get Brimstone or Mom's Knife, I guess, and just walk into enemies with knife or, you know, shoot them with Brimstone. But, yeah, it's a goofy run. It's a goofy run for a reason. When I hear that old song they used to play. Now, you know, we talk about it on the show sometimes. I sometimes feel like, well, I feel like either a robot or perhaps the most persecuted person of all time. One of the two. But, like, sometimes we'll talk about, like, how we feel about the school curriculum on the show. And I will say things that can be construed as being very negative. Or, like, people sometimes think I'm being a STEM lord, which is not the case. If anything, I think schools should teach more practical skills and, like, still teach a lot of, like, theoretical stuff. Well, not even theoretical stuff, but, like, a lot of hard science, but simultaneously stuff that's applicable in the real world for everybody. The thing that always comes up is, like, a class on doing, you know, your taxes, basic financial literacy, etc., etc. Media literacy. Confusing Pin is, like, it's a bonus to him. Media literacy class would be smart, you know. A lot of people disagree with this when I said it, but, you know, I kind of like that there's some parts of the world that have, like, mandatory driving class in high school. It seems like something that's relevant, but what if I choose not to drive? Yeah, well, I didn't want to be in a Baroque orchestra, but I had to take a music class. And I'll have you know, I took it for a few years. Even won the Grade 11 Music Award, in case you're wondering. Sorry, Juilliard, I turned my phone off. Anyway. But I really... There goes our deal with the devil. I gotta level with you. And let me take a sip of my coffee. Because this is a big this ain't it chief sort of moment. I don't understand the point of a mandatory visual art class. And I want to... If you separate emotion from this... I am... If you ever listen to me, like, I'm a snob. I enjoy the finer things in life. Which means that, you know, from like the age of 15 onwards, I just pretended to enjoy the finer things in life until eventually, you know, it became my real personality. But I respect, you know, art. I respect music. After 10 years of education that always included an art class where I was just embarrassed at my lack of skill, why make me take another one in high school at that point? That's where, I mean, I wasn't, like, offended by it, because, I mean, first off, I didn't even have to take visual art, I just took music, but you had to take one of the two. If it was your first exposure, and I guess you can't guarantee it wasn't your first exposure, but, like, all of school is art until, like, 3rd grade to begin with. Everything, like, kindergarten is art class. It's like they sort of teach you how to read by putting words in front of you. And then on top of that, every day is like, cut this out and put it on a page. Use your glue stick, A+. And learning to sing songs about, like, how to wipe your butt when you go to the bathroom, right? Like, I put in the time on art. I didn't need any more art class after that point. And it's not necessarily like it's the greatest injustice of all time, but I mean, there's definitely some, not only some classes, but some kids where you just, you know, you know you're not going to be interested in doing this long term. I was 100%, you've seen me play Scribbler. Here's my thing. I'm very detail-unoriented for certain things in life. I used to think, and I've been of the opinion that I'm very coarse-minded instead of, like, fine-grained. It's not true. I'm non-detail oriented about things in my life that I don't care about. About things in my life I do care about, I'm very detail-oriented. It's taken me a while to learn that and stop giving myself the label as someone who only cares about big picture stuff, doesn't care about, like, you know, the minor things. But when it comes to, like, art, dude, I always rushed my cutting. I always rushed my gluing. I always rushed my coloring. I knew from an early age it just was not for me. There's probably, you know, I mean, there's kids. You can't really structure education like this, but, you know, many of you will probably fit into one of these categories. There are kids, you know, right from 2nd or 3rd grade, you're like, they're gonna be interested in art. Like, we had one student in our, like, elementary, middle, and high school. Every year at, like, our school assembly, she would sing. She would always sing Leavin' on a Jet Plane by Chantal Kreviazuk from the Armageddon soundtrack. But, you know, you're like, hey, once a year, that's a nice treat, I guess. And she was really good. So, like, from an early age, we were like, you know, she's probably gonna she's gonna get a bachelor's of music in, like, vocal performance. And that's exactly what happened. And then there's the, you know, the kid whose dad and mom are both, like, PhD level scientists. And you're like, this dude is going into science. There's the kid who, like, makes Flash games on his lunch break and brings them in and they suck, but it's still really impressive because, you know, he's like 14. You're like, that guy's gonna get a computer science degree, no question. Everybody else, you gotta kind of figure it out, I guess, but you start narrowing some things down pretty early, I suppose. I don't know, man. This is why I don't work on the school board or the board of education, or I don't even know how that stuff works, to be honest with you. Which is why I talk about it extensively. Anyway, we're gonna be very careful here. I want to see what's in these, but I 100% do not want to lose my deal with the devil chance. I hate you. No, do not turn Yera into Ace of Clubs. That's madness. I beg you, my friend. No! I was gonna say give me an orbital. Don't rush me. Don't rush me, Gertie. I'll go ahead and say it. I kind of hate the head trauma challenge. You know what? I should realize that I put in so much time with Soy Milk and Tiny Planet in my young life. We should have not ever taken them so that we had novelty when we come to this challenge. Bring me a dream. I feel like, you know, I know that ruins our deal with the devil chance. Why not? At this point, I'm at like I wouldn't say like I have a death wish for this point of the run, but, you know, I'm not really worried about playing with the best first principles you could ever imagine. I'm mostly worried about, you know, if possible, please let me go to the shop. At the shop, if I could purchase, you know, trying to think of the best ideal item for us. Mama Mega, and then we can just use that to clear an entire floor and hopefully win the run on that merit alone. You know what is unfortunate, though? This run is, like, clearly making me realize that our last run was really good. And we basically threw it away due to a lack of preparation caused by cockiness. I was like, I'll beat every challenge on the first try. I don't need any help. Well, we could have made that last run happen very easily, in hindsight. Well, I kicked the bomb away. Kicked the bomb away. That's a Peaches reference. You got it. Okay. What I was gonna say is, we don't have to worry about an item room. We would definitely like to go to the shop, because that's, you know, one of our only ways to reliably get an item of our choice, but yeah, we don't need to worry about an item room, because they don't exist. That's how you spin a negative into a positive. Look on the bright side, you might not be a billionaire, but think of all the money you're saving on accounting. This room, if we get hit on this room, take me to the glue factory. This is like one of the few rooms that I think is actually probably easier with this setup. Okay, that might be ridiculous, but not much harder. Whoa! So I'm trying to use, like, a bomb on every room. And the whole philosophy there is just, hey, man, I don't think we're going to get a whole lot of bombs necessarily, but I'm willing to give it a, you know, anything to speed up the process of, like, basically, like, the faster this run ends, the more likely it is to end in a win, I guess is what I'm saying. Because this might be the most obvious correlation of all time. Really loving this curse, by the way. This might be the most obvious correlation of all time, but, you know, the longer we spend on a room without an inability, or with an inability to really reliably hit enemies, the more likely we are to take damage in the process. Alright, Chubb. He's actually a good enemy to have confused. And he does get relatively countered by bombs. But we also, in my opinion, don't even need to use bombs on him. We can save our bomb for a more difficult room maybe in the future. And just bombard him, you know, without even necessarily having line of sight. And all it's gonna do is require us to, you know, trade, you know, another 2 or 3 minutes of our very limited time on planet Earth to get it done. That's okay. It's not like, you know, I'm in a good spot. I woke up early this morning. Very easy day so far. Getting myself back into the swing of things on this fine Monday. That's right, there's like no Isaac backlog. You know what that means. All of your jokes about, well, this video was probably recorded in, you know, last July. Wrong. You got any contemporaneous things you'd like me to talk about? What do you think of Kanye West on SNL? No, it's not really like that. I'd rather talk about, you know, Supreme Court cases from the 1700s, or, you know, what schools should be teaching for the 30th time. I don't really get into that. So, NL, what are your thoughts on the new NAFTA agreement? NAFTA D's nuts on your forehead? Please don't make me talk about serious stuff. I might have to reveal my true opinions about anything on planet Earth except for the 2004 movie I Heart Huckabee starring Jason Schwartzman and Dustin Hoffman, Mark Wahlberg, Naomi Watts, Jude Law. An ensemble film. Delightful in its absurdity, but also uneven. Anyway. I don't know why, but now I have like an all-ages, like, kids bop version of that Peaches song stuck in my head now. It just goes, frick the pain away, frick the pain away. I just would love, I mean, it's not like, we're in like the quarter of the year in which my birthday falls in. It's not my birthday yet, but if you want to give me an early birthday present, hey, here's an idea. How about raising my damage from 1.12 to something that doesn't suck? It's a real bummer, because we can't even get a tiers upgrade at this point, because we're at the cap, so. Oh, I like this, though. And I love the, you're still shooting. Yeah, I really want Sharp Plug. I think it'd be a really good idea to trade 2 hearts for 3 flies. This seems like a great concept. So we should keep Yera for a couple of reasons. One being that it's more fun. Another being that it could be better. But I have to be honest, the strength card is very tempting as well in its own right. Just to... I mean, we could use it for this boss fight specifically. That's not even a bad idea. That's just a good idea. But it does require 2 rooms of walking, which is, I don't know, a little extreme. No! I'm 100% not messing with you. We will be... I will consider ourselves lucky if we live through the brownie fight. And it's going pretty well right now, and actually now I'm realizing that was definitely an overly conservative way to look at this, but we have to stand, like, right next to this guy to hit him with any sort of reliability. Oh my god, we got him. And, you know, standing next to Brownie is the most surefire way to get yourself hit. We got... Okay, obviously, like, it was ridiculous to assume that we wouldn't defeat him in hindsight, but still. We're on our final floor. This is huge news for me, because it means that we could be done with this challenge forever. We have 4 HP, which is reasonable. Tell you what, I basically hate this. This will be a great challenge to hopefully never see again. I knew it, like, going in, I was like, I know head trauma is one of the bad ones. There's a couple more. Obviously, like, speed is just horrible. That's... I never remember the exact parameters, because it's like a year in between doing them, but I'm pretty sure speed is, like... You have to beat the entire run within, like, 15 minutes. Maybe 20. I know you move faster, but still. It's tough. And then, Ultra Hard is like HP never drops. And also every enemy's a champion or something like that. Speed is more of like just hold R until you get like a decent item. Ultra Hard is like, you know, it's a bit more grindy. But, you know, you get that, it's like a Star Wars Battlefront loot box. You get a sense of accomplishment from having defeated them when you get there. Thank you. Alright, it's all HP management at this point. You know, you... Just don't get hit. Easy enough. Forehead, lull. No, definitely don't get hit by a champion as well. I love it. He might locomote. He did locomote into the fires. I will check the curse room. I love it. I checked the curse room because we had half a red heart anyway, but the spirit hearts are also, I mean, probably like the most valuable thing we could get right now. These floors tend to be pretty small because there's no item rooms. Seems to affect the number of rooms on the floor to begin with. By more than one. So bad trip sucks, but... You know, you gotta take the good with the bad. The good is that this run is almost done. The bad is that it exists in the first place. Here we go. We're banking on one explosion killing like 15 of these guys at the same time. Oh, nope. Oh. The worst part about this is that it's 1,000,000,000% on me. Should not be, in this very delicate situation, you should not be taking pills that could ruin your run by giving you a speed down, for example. We got him, we got him, we got him, we got him, okay, and then there's one enemy I've never even seen before, on this room, at least. I do want to see what the cards are. Moon, the lovers. Come on, we have got the lovers. Give me 2 hearts, cause I've got the lovers card. That's another classic AC/DC reference. It's my favorite AC/DC song because it's not about a weather phenomenon or electricity. Then, of course, there is big balls. You know, I haven't told too many stories about my college roommate. We talk about it on the NLSS now and then whenever Malph's on, because he knows him. Good guy, uniquely intelligent, but also totally brain dead. You know, he's not like a nerd. He's like an actual genius. It's just some of the stuff he does, well, at least did. I mean, this is like 10 years ago. You were like, how could a person so smart believe something this dumb? I know you're like, you might be thinking of the archetype, like, yeah, I get it, he's like really book smart, but socially inept. No, not really, just like, you know, he was socially relatively competent, but he just thought some dumb things sometimes. That flabbergasted the people in his life who knew him and knew how intelligent he was. But It was like our third day in the dorms in college, and they did like this karaoke thing. And he's like, hey, we should go up and sing some AC/DC. And I'm like, you know, that seems like, hey, it's freshman year, you know, get out of your comfort zone. Plus, at that point, I didn't even know that I couldn't sing. So, it seemed like a good idea. And then he wrote down Big Balls. And I was like, dude, we can't be the guys who sing Big Balls by AC/DC at freshman karaoke. Like, I get that it's, like, funny, but simultaneously, like, it's gonna give us a rep. So then instead, I can't even remember. Probably we wrote down She Shook Me All Night Long, and then we never got to sing in the first place because there were too many people that volunteered. But anyway, he never thanked me, but I like to think that, you know, he knew that I'd socially saved him from being known as the Big Balls guy. And it's just, you know, it's the least I could do. I'm very upset. I hate confused enemies. I hate 1 damage. I hate soy milk and Tiny Planet. I can't even talk about the strategy that I'm thinking about right now. Thank you, Placentas. Thank you so much. Because it's going to distract me. But basically, I feel like I can't even try to dodge the little enemies, because if I dodge the little enemies, I get hit by the big enemies and take 1 damage. Dude, I hate it. I'm giving the screen the middle finger right now. We'll be back to do a real challenge next time. For now, thanks for watching. Hope you've enjoyed the episode. If you did, click the like button. It's a great deal. Of course, subscribe if you want to see more in the future. For now, thanks for watching. I will see you next time. See ya.